What's good, YouTube? Good morning, man. Flash speaks back for a real quick one. This is one of the moments, man, in history that are teaching moments. And I love a teaching moment. So, the talk pretty much all week in the WNBA circles amongst content creators and others has been surrounded by this whole talk of the players trying to get more money, their bargaining agreements with the owners and so on. And what's funny is how everybody has an opinion about this. Whether it's something that affects you or something that doesn't affect you. And it's these moments like this right here that kind of really reveals people's intentions and where people are really at, their mindset, their intentions, the type of people that they are. And it also reveals your understanding of the world or your lack thereof. So, you're talking about a league where, and first of all, just in sports in general, something that generates billions of dollars. Just in general when we talk about sports. Women's sports, not so much as men's sports, for a number of reasons that we've talked about before. One of the reasons is men, by and large, make up the people who watch sports, okay, make up the viewership. Whereas women don't really view sports as much, just generally. And some of this has to do with the natural inclinations of men and women, okay? Men typically love sport because sport is competition. Men are not only competitive, but are pretty much driven by competition in most cases, right? All of these are archetypes we're talking about right now. There's always exceptions to the rule. But we're talking about, by and large, this is the archetype of what you call the divine masculine. That what men love is competition. We were built to build society. We were created to build societies. Okay, we were created to defend, to fight, to do to engage in these different types of activities. That's why God has given us more muscle mass than children and women. Okay, it's just trying to show how all these different things align. Women, on the other hand, according to the way the divine feminine is set up, are generally creatures, for lack of a better word, who aren't necessarily, on the average, driven by competition, but are usually driven by love. The want for love, the need to be loved in these types of things. Okay, this is why, on the average, a woman will enjoy a good movie like The Notebook, for example, or like Love and Basketball, for example, or, any of these different types of what you will call romantic dramas or romantic comedy type movies. Typically, women are the viewers of these. Men can appreciate them. Me, by and large, growing up, especially in my years where I was engaged in sports and had testosterone flowing all throughout, I wasn't really that interested in those types of movies, right? It became later where you would like something like a Silver Linings Playbook or something now, which is a movie I think is one of the greatest movies now. Back before I wouldn't. These are typically what women like. Women will rather spend their 2 hours watching Silver Linings Playbook over watching a game. Now, there are exceptions to every rule. Like, for example, my mother was a sports fan, okay? But there are exceptions to every rule. The point here is, this is the reason why viewership oftentimes depends on men watching, okay? And this, in women's basketball, it's no exception to this. Though I believe there are actually more women in the world than men, men will still be the ones who make up the viewership of sports because we are more innately inclined to like sports, okay, than women, generally speaking. There are always exceptions, but generally speaking, okay? Now, what's funny about what's happening here is that you got men who are watching the sport for whatever reason. Some genuinely like the league. Many, who I'm going to talk about here, appear to genuinely not like the league. What they like is one player, for whatever reason. And there are different reasons. Some genuinely believe that this player is just this phenomenal talent, great player that's better than the other players. And I'm talking about Caitlyn Clark, of course. Okay? Most people, in my opinion, though, I believe follow the wave, follow the trends, follow the narrative that those who they deem have authority in a particular area tend to propagate. Okay? And it's clear that what's being propagated is, Caitlyn Clark's career. And that's for people who don't see that, that's for one reason and one reason alone. It's because of her viewership. Okay, they're going to pander towards those who view things. That's what keeps business profitable. Okay, so that's what they're going to do. But when we talk about human beings in general, most people follow trends and waves. Okay, most people are subject to the law of suggestion and things like that. The law of suggestion is, in psychology, when you're being told a thing over and over and over and over again, to the point where you now start to believe it because you keep hearing that thing. And many of the things they're being told about Caitlyn Clark is she's the greatest women's player ever, greatest shooter ever, greatest college player ever. Then the negative things like all the women that hate her. She's being guarded more than others. All of these different things because they're constantly said and propagated. Most of you jokers are just going to follow it. And don't tell me that I'm wrong on this because I've noticed this in all walks of life. Most people follow trends, and they consider people who don't follow trends to be weird, to be square, to be haters, to be such and such, and so on. Okay, and this is no different in this situation. Now, as it relates to these women wanting money, I think because these guys, you guys who I'm talking to, you genuinely don't care for the league. You genuinely may not even care for basketball in general, but since you only care about this one player, because you have a negative view of the game and the women in the game, you'll go so extreme that you'll take the side of billionaire owners. You'll take their side. People who have absolutely no relation to you. People who have no way of relating to you, and you to them. You'll take their side. And it's really, really bad. Do you understand that these owners that you're defending are billionaires? Okay, we're talking about they represent the 1% of this particular society. These are the people that are usually dictating policy in government. These are the people that are paying for politicians. Okay, because make no mistake, a politician is nothing but a slave that is just bought. Okay, they're bought and sold. Okay, and utilized by the 1%. And the 1% is always versus us. The political class are just simply in the middle to keep your broke ass off of their ass. Okay, so this is why they have government set up, government structures. This is why we have policing. This is why we have prisons. It's just so when the inequity of the money, the financial inequity hits the fan, what they do is they use the political class to keep you off their ass. That's basically what the purpose that it serves. Okay, and these are greater things we got to discuss, whether or not, like for example, the type of government that we have, a so-called democracy, which is really an oligarchical republic, but we can call it a democracy. Whether or not that's better than something like a monarchy, for example. But I'm not going to veer off too much. You guys are very sad. Very, very sad. Number one, what is it to you? This is a simple question. What's it to you whether or not these ladies get more money than they're getting now? What to you, like, why does it please you to see them just being underpaid? Barely, making enough money to just make ends meet. Having to go overseas and play in order to just live a decent life. What's it to you? Why do you get so passionate and emotional about it to the point where you want to call them delusional? You do understand the history of work and the working class in this country, right? Typically, owners, bosses, at whatever level, whether you're talking about a simple job at Amazon, where you're driving and delivering packages, or a simple job at a factory, owners are always trying to keep their profit margins large, and by and large not share the wealth that's being produced by the workers. They don't want to share the wealth. This is the way it's always been. That's why we have unions, okay? That sometimes, depending on the company, every 5 years they're striking, right? You have SEPTA, for example, which is the company that controls most of the transportation in southeastern Pennsylvania. They seem like they strike every 5 years, whether it's about money, whether it's about health care, whether it's about other types of benefits, whatever the case may be. This is always the way it's done. And I never hear anyone talking about, well, SEPTA hasn't made any money, so let's support these freaking billionaires, who just sitting back, don't do shit in the morning when they wake up, and they just get to drink pina coladas all fucking day and have sex with multiple women and, live in luxurious houses and just get to sit around and contemplate on the mysteries, on the philosophies of Aristotle and fucking Plato and shit like that. They get to live this type of life while the workers got to bust their ass. I never heard when they strike anyone, sitting up here taking up for these billionaires. But when it's women trying to get equal pay and equity, when they work somewhere. Now, we're not talking about jobs that women typically don't want, like construction jobs where men might make $30, $40 an hour or more or something like that, and women don't want those jobs. But we're talking about jobs where a woman is doing pretty much the same thing a man is doing. Why the fuck do you think they shouldn't get paid that money? And do you really think these fucking billionaires are going to go broke? You stupid bitch. Do you really think that? I know you can't think that. And then I know you don't believe what they say, do you? If so, you're very lost in the sauce in terms of the way this world is set up. Even you Trump dick riders and those who worship this guy and all of that, you think he serves you because y'all out there willing to run up and out in the White House or in the Capitol like some dumbasses? He don't give a damn about your dumbass. He just uses you because of your stupidity. He's going to serve the rich. Why? Because when he's running for president and he needs funding, a rich guy can give him $250 million. A rich guy can help enrich his pockets. Those are the people that are going to keep him good. Like, he married his daughter to a damn rich ass. Bruh, they are on a different level, dude. They don't care about you. Like, just y'all need to stop it. And then the same with the other side. Same with the Obamas. The same with definitely the damn Clintons and all of them. They're all the same, man. They all cool with Epstein and all of that, man. And I ain't gonna get into that because I ain't trying to get flagged. But they're all the same cabal of rich people that are into whatever they're into. And if you don't know that, man, you need to really go back and learn your ABCs, man. Learn your basic knowledge about the way the world is set up. But right now, what you're doing is y'all supporting these rich ass dudes who never going to go broke over the women who just asking for just a share of the revenue that comes in. And you think you know what's going on with the revenue. They lost money, they didn't turn profits and all of that. Man, dude, as I said before, if it was dying like that, okay, if it was really dying like that and really struggling like that, people like Josh Harris and those owners of these other 5 teams that will be here by 2030, they would not be paying upwards to $75 million and $200 million for a team. Okay? The Valkyries, you realize, right? The Valkyries, I don't know how much, I believe they paid $50 million, if I'm not mistaken, to start the franchise of the Valkyries. The worth of that team right now is $500 million. So they already made a profit of $450 million. Okay? Owning a team or something, a franchise like that is no different from buying a house, a property, okay, land. You're not worried about turning a profit each year on that type of thing. Okay, it's something that you own, that you put equity in, okay, that you use for leverage. And also, when you decide you just want to get out and sell it, you know, you're going to be making something like that, okay? That's what a guy like Josh Harris, who's going to open up that team in Philly, is thinking about. That's what he's looking at. That's what he's after, okay? And really, he's a guy that's just like, it's almost like they're playing a video game, okay, these owners, right? I own a team versus your team, and I'm going to beat you, you know, as he sits up in his drawers, okay, in his $1,000 drawers, drinking some damn martini, man. Like, y'all act like y'all just don't get what's going on. Just blows my mind. And what it comes from is, ultimately, it's a disrespect and a disdain for women. Trust me, I know. I've been there, brothers. I've been there. Right? I understand what that's all about. You know, you grow up as a boy. You just, you know, we can't deal with the fact that we're stronger, right? We're bigger. So these things leak into a type of arrogance that we have and stuff like that. I get it. You think women are dumb. They don't know business. They just only... Someone told you that they're just all emotional and everything, and that we're just so logical. Someone told you that. I get it. But like I said, there's anomalies. Meaning you dudes are very emotional too, you know, and many of them are very logical. Okay, I ain't gonna even go into the history of all that stuff, man. I could, but I'm not. But you dudes are sad, man. You dudes is real sad, and I think y'all need to sit back and really rethink a lot of the thinking that you have. Because really, like I said, I don't believe it's based on much that's sound or that's established, that's fundamental. It's like y'all just following waves, man. Somebody told you that this is the greatest player ever. And because you haven't watched enough women play, you think this is the greatest thing you've ever seen. When in reality, you need to go talk to somebody who's watched all that to formulate a real opinion. Stop listening to these shows, man, where people who just don't know the game. You know, I recommend go to Quita Love Sports, go to Cess Talk Sports. Listen to my man HD. Welcome to HD TV. People, guys who, and women, and I recommend the women big time, who've watched throughout, who've seen other players. Okay? And they can give you like a real opinion. Besides just following the damn wave, man. And don't tell me niggas y'all don't follow waves. Y'all probably was the same dudes that was right here in 2019, 2020 walking around with masks on. Simply because the news every day was just pumping out that's what you need to do. Probably ain't do no research on your own, ain't find out nothing on your own, and listen to no alternative doctors or nothing. Crazy, man. So easy to control y'all. So easy to control y'all, man. Anyway, man, let me get on with my day, man. I'll get with you cats later. Peace out.